Hello everyone, it's Omae and welcome back to the brand new video. So I just wanted to focus today on Loki's brand new mechanic in his captain effect, which is the territory nullification effect. I just wanted to discuss, is this even necessary? How much of an impact does it make? And how could this change how content plays out in the future, especially regarding SUPERBOSS and Blitz battle. So we will probably get Blitz in the next few days, and then also we will definitely get a SUPERBOSS in September, so get excited for that. But let's discuss Loki's abilities. So Loki as a captain is really powerful because he's giving a lot of cooldown versus effect and switch effect gauge charges. He's giving massive HP, very good attack multipliers on the same level as the 12th anniversary units. He's also giving a lot of utility for chain minimum attack down, turns of paralysis, and then also enemy territory. So I mean, there's a typo here, Terrorati is crazy, but anyways, this utility for chain minimum attack down isn't very that good, because a lot of the time we are using chain boundaries on a good team and we can kind of just ignore chain minimum attack down. And then for paralysis, you have to be careful since paralysis orbs are way more common than actual turns of paralysis these days, and this does not get around that. Yes, you can tap on the paralysis orbs and it will instantly remove the paralysis, but you'll have type neutral slots, so you really don't want to do that. So this effect, it's great because it can work with 99 turns of paralysis. It will charge Loki's special, which we will discuss in a moment, the implications of that. But at the same time, it will not work for paralysis orbs, so keep that in mind. Now, nullification of enemy territory. Enemy territory in One Precision Cruise is always going to be a 66% reduction in your damage. It is ridiculous. If you do not remove the territory in this case or replace it with your own territory, your damage will be absolute garbage and you won't know why. Well, this is the reason. And yes, this is a powerful effect because removing that, of course, increases your damage there by 66% again. But the issue is, Loki himself gets around enemy territory already in his special. When you activate your own territory effect onto the field, it replaces the enemy territory and you no longer have to deal with that 66% damage reduction effect. So I mean, Loki, when you use him properly as a captain and the enemy gives you paralysis, then you can activate Loki like 3 times per quest. It's ridiculous. Like his first initial activation, luckily you can get cooldown from a lot of adventures like Treasure Map and Kizuna for his first activation, or you can stall for it, of course. Then you can use his EX Super, which by the way, you need to run him as the captain to actually get this EX Super. You cannot use it as a sailor. So very important if you want to use Loki multiple times per quest, but this will give him cooldown, not all the cooldown he needs, but most of it, right? So you can activate him a second time, and the way he's been designed is you want to use him twice in the same turn because he provides a 6x attack boost, if I can find it. Here we are. And that's if his special counter is at 0. His super special will change that special counter to 1, and it'll give an extra 9.2x attack boost. This 8x gets multiplied by 1.2x up to 9.2x. So it's extremely powerful. You use his first activation for the 6x attack boost, then you use the new Vivi, who synergizes really well with Loki. Her super type will change that 6x to a 5x stackable attack boost, and then you can use Loki for a second time in the same turn and get another 9.2x attack boost, stacking with that initial one. So it's extremely powerful. My main point here is that you want to run or use Loki twice in the same turn. Now, the damage, I mean the enemy territory nullification, the only time this is really relevant with Loki is if there is territory on 2 separate stages in the quest, because on stage 2, for instance, of a Kizuna, like the current Kizuna against Reiju, there is an enemy territory, and even though the enemy only has 10 million HP on stage 2, you might find it very difficult to kill because of that enemy territory. 66% reduction in your damage. Now for 10-star Kizuna, that really isn't much of an issue. Even with the enemy territory, if you have like two very average damage boosting effects, you can still burst through it. But when it comes to Super Boss, I'm a bit concerned. We haven't seen enemy territory on stage 2 of Super Boss Kizuna, and that's considering the fact that it's even without it, it's difficult to kill stage 2 of Super Boss Kizuna. The enemy has way more HP than 10-star, and you really have to focus on having some form of damage on stage 2 of Super Boss. Otherwise, you won't have enough damage to kill turn 1, and the enemy will give you the potential ability nullification debuff. So this makes me concerned. If this damage nullification, territory nullification effect is kind of useless right now because no considerable content has 2 stages with a enemy territory, then will they introduce an enemy territory in the new Super Boss Kizuna next month in September, which will make it so much more annoying for teams to work properly? And since Loki is the only one in the game to nullify territory, your only other way to get around it would be to pop one of your big damage specials that give a territory on stage 2, which really could hinder your damage. Remember, on stage 2 of Super Boss Kizuna, we also have gimmicks that we have to deal with. So not only are you building for trying to get around these gimmicks while still saving damage for the final stage, but now you have to deal with an enemy territory, which hinders your damage by 66%. So in a situation where the enemy gives you paralysis, you can activate Loki 3 times, because you can use him first time on stage 2 to replace the territory. And then on the final stage, even if the enemy gives you 3 turns of paralysis to all of your characters, this will fully charge Loki, because every unit that gets paralysis gets completely removed and converted into cooldown for Loki. So 3 turns of paralysis on 6 characters, 6 times 3 equals 18, and you get 2 turns of cooldown from moving between stage 2 and 3, including the enemy preemptive, which is perfectly enough to charge a limit break expanded Loki. So in that situation where the enemy gives you paralysis on stage 3, you can use him 3 times and get around the enemy territory on stage 2, even without the damage nullification. So I'm just really questioning if this is really that good of an effect right now, because no content has multiple stages of enemy territory where the enemy has massive amounts of HP. Super Boss would be the exception if they introduce that in September's Super Boss. So currently right now, this is not a very powerful effect, because in all the final stages of content where enemy territory is most common, we can literally just use any territory effect to replace that. We don't need this nullification effect. Loki himself gets around the enemy territory with his special by replacing it. So I just don't see the need for it right now, but its existence in his kits just makes me concerned, because why would the devs put it in there if they weren't going to introduce enemy territory in stage 2 of Super Boss Kizuna? So I just kind of concerned about that. Let me know your thoughts. Hopefully this video gave you a bit more insight if you don't really know how territories work. Enemy territory is extremely dangerous, and it can really hinder your damage, especially on Super Boss if they introduce it. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Let me know your thoughts. Peace, and I'm out.